Nollaig, a tradition that holds a special place in the hearts of women all over the country. This day is about recognising the strength of women, and I'm reminded as I look around this room how much power we can hold when we come together. Mary Robinson once described Irish women as the unseen but essential builders of peace and community. Those words resonate deeply today as we gather not only to celebrate Nollaig, the women of Ireland, who have been the unseen builders of peace and community, but also to turn our focus outward to Palestine, the women of Palestine. Across oceans and continents, these women embody the same resilience and courage, facing unimaginable circumstances with the strength to nurture, to resist and to love, even in the darkest of times. But to truly understand their struggle, we must recognise that this didn't begin 16 odd months ago. The oppression of Palestinians stretches even further back than 1948, when hundreds of thousands were forcibly displaced during the Nakba, the catastrophe. Families were torn from their homes, villages destroyed, and generations condemned to live as refugees or under occupation. The Nakba didn't end in 1948. Its echoes are felt every day in Gaza, the West Bank, and beyond. Today's atrocities are not an isolated crisis, but the continuation of decades of apartheid, dehumanisation, and erasure. What we are witnessing is only the latest chapter in a long history of injustice. As Irish people, we understand the pain of displacement and occupation. We know what it means to fight for freedom against seemingly insurmountable odds. Just as Irish women stood at the heart of our own struggles, Palestinian women are not just enduring, but they are leading. They are the teachers who ensure education continues amidst destruction, the activists leading protests, and the mothers shielding their children from unimaginable horrors. Their courage reminds us that resistance is as much about hope as it is about defiance. As women, we are often taught to underestimate our power. But history tells a different story. We are the keepers of communities and the drivers of change. Together we can face even the greatest challenges with strength and determination we so often overlook in ourselves. And I'm not standing here today as an expert, but as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend. Someone who has been shaken to the core by what I've witnessed unfolding in Palestine. Like many of you, I've sat at home with my phone in my hand, my nightmare gadget, watching a live-streamed genocide. I've scrolled through scenes of devastation and despair, asking myself over and over, how can we let this happen? How can we let this unspeakable suffering continue? As a mother of three, I can't help but imagine my own children in their place. I see their little faces reflected in the children of Gaza, in their fear, in their helplessness, and in their stolen innocence. It's a thought so unbearable I have to catch my breath. Yet it is their daily reality. Let me tell you about Hind Rasha. Hind was a 6-year-old girl from Gaza. She was full of the same joy and innocence that I see in my own children. She would have been learning to read and write, playing games with her friends, telling silly jokes, dreaming of what she might become. Perhaps like my little boy, she had a favourite song or a bedtime story that she asked to hear every night. Her life was no less precious than the lives of our own children. But in January 2024, 1 year ago, Hind was brutally slaughtered, along with her family, while she was fleeing her home. When I heard the heart-wrenching recording of Hind's final moments, I imagined my own little boy Ruben. They were the same age when she died. I pictured his small hand in mine, looking up to me for safety. What must it have been like for Hind, scared, confused, and completely innocent? I can't bear it. I don't think any of us can, because as mothers, as grandmothers, as aunties, as sisters and carers, we know what it means to protect the children we love. But Hind's story isn't an isolated tragedy. It's one of thousands. In Gaza, women are raising families amidst unimaginable violence and despair. They try in vain to comfort their frightened children, not knowing if they will see another sunrise, not sure if they'll all be burnt alive tonight, not sure if they'll need to comfort their little children as they have limbs removed without anaesthetic. Mothers are giving birth in conditions that most of us can't even fathom, often without basic medical care. I've had 3 C-sections. I remember the anxiety, the relief of knowing skilled hands were there to deliver my babies safely. But in Gaza, even the chance of a C-section, let alone with proper anaesthetic, is a distant hope. With hospitals bombed to ruins and medical supplies blocked, these women are left to endure unthinkable pain and risk. Miscarriages have risen by 300%. Starving mothers, too weak to produce milk, cradle their precious babies as they grow weak and slip away in the cold. Can you imagine the pain of being powerless to save your child, of watching them freeze and starve, despite your every effort to keep them alive? And yet, amidst all this suffering, much of the media parrots the Israeli narrative that these women use their children as human shields or neglect their care. It's a cruel inversion of reality, blaming the victims for the horrors inflicted upon them. These women aren't neglectful. They are enduring the unbearable, doing everything in their power to protect their children from a world that has abandoned them. And then there is the deafening silence surrounding the use of sexual violence as a weapon of war, a silence that has become a violence of its own. Women, men, and children have been subjected to abuse designed to break and humiliate them. These acts of sheer cruelty are erased from our news, dehumanizing victims and shielding the perpetrators. Just as Palestinians are expected to be the perfect victims, willing to lay down and die quietly, we're also expected to accept this as their lot in life. We are told to shut up and move on. We must also remember that this is not just a distant conflict. It is one in which international powers, including Ireland, are deeply entangled. The EU is Israel's largest trading partner, and weapons tested on Palestinians are sold across the world. Even our own Shannon Airport has been used as a staging ground for US military operations that fuel these atrocities. Fine words from politicians are no longer enough. Ireland must lead by example, as we did with apartheid South Africa. Rhetoric is meaningless without action. Now I know, these are heavy words, but I believe they need to be spoken. Silence only serves the oppressor. And let me say this clearly. Standing against genocide, standing for justice, does not make you a terrorist sympathiser or an anti-Semite. I've been called these things myself. And I know how those labels are designed to slander, distract, and intimidate. They aim to silence you, to shake your resolve, and to make you doubt your moral compass. But we must remember, these accusations are not a reflection of who we are. They are a tactic used to protect those in power and maintain the status quo. Speaking the truth, even when it's difficult, even when our voices shake, is not hate. It is humanity. And standing against oppression is not a choice. It is a responsibility. So, besides crying all night, what can we actually do here in Mayo, so far away from Gaza? It's easy to feel helpless, to leave it to others to sort out, but we're far from powerless. First, we can use our consumer choices to support boycott, divestment and sanctions, BDS, targeting companies that profit from the occupation. It's a peaceful, effective way to hit them where it hurts most, the pocket. We must insist on this with our government too, who have been dragging their feet far too long on the Occupied Territories Bill. Second, and perhaps closest to my heart, I want to invite every one of you to join us every week on Hambridge here in town at 5 o'clock for our Vigilance for Palestine. It might not seem like much, standing there in the cold with our signs and our flags, but it is a way to show solidarity, to remind our community that we won't turn away. And most importantly, it keeps the conversation going. Because the worst thing we could do is let this struggle fade from memory. And don't worry, our friend Derek always ensures that the child of Prague is working overtime to give us lots of fine weather every Friday. Finally, I urge you to use your influence wherever you can. Hold county councillors, TDs and MEPs to account. Demand action. Ask them why Shannon Airport continues to be used as a military base, enabling wars that perpetuate this suffering. Ask why a mural of Joe Biden, whose administration enthusiastically enables this violence, still stands in our town without challenge, without even planning permission. These symbols and policies matter because they reflect a system that relies on our silence. By challenging them, we show that our community will not be complicit. As we reflect on the strength of women today, let us draw inspiration from the women of Palestine, who resist, nurture, and love despite unimaginable horrors. Amid the rubble of their homes and lives, they show us what courage truly means. It is the courage of a mother shielding her children with her own body. The courage of a teacher turning destruction into hope. The courage of a midwife bringing life into a shattered world. And the courage of a young girl daring to dream in a land where childhood has been stolen. Their resistance is not just in protest or defiance, it is in their very survival. In the simple act of loving their families, their communities, and their land, they refuse to let oppression win. They remind us that courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just the quiet determination to keep going, to keep hoping, to keep loving in the face of unimaginable loss. Aaron Bushman's words challenge us all. Many of us like to ask ourselves, what would I do if I was alive during slavery, or the Jim Crow South, or apartheid? What would I do if my country was committing genocide? The answer is, we're doing it now. We are living through a moment that will define us, just as those times defined the generations before us. The question isn't what we would have done then, it's what we will do now. And so, much like a Leaving Cert Irish essay, I'll leave you with a shanachal. Ar scá chéile a war na daoine. We live in each other's shadow. We may feel small in the face of such immense suffering, but our voices united are mighty. We are women. Together we can challenge the systems of oppression. Together we can be the light that breaks through the shadows. May our courage, rooted in justice and love, inspire the change our town, our country, and our world so desperately need. Saoirse don Palestine, free Palestine, Nollaig.